Jessica.
I'm Liz.
And we are back again with another episode for you guys. And I think that this is another special one that really touches home for both of us. This is back into our niche, something that we're trying to kind of keep niche down, but also trying to address the other levels of grief. But I think talking about sibling loss is very important, and we don't really have that community like that. But let me introduce Jamie.
Hi.
Jamie, welcome, and thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining
Much for joining us.
And we're so excited to have this interview with you, and just so excited to have you on our show. And you're over
That's
there.
right,
You're in New
Long
York.
Island.
Yes.
That's right.
Long
That's
Island
right.
girl.
Born and raised in Queens, lifelong New Yorker. Out.
I love that. What Queens?
Oh,
I was just about to ask. I'm from
Park.
Astoria.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, is that okay? I don't think I was ready to.
I used to
that's
have some good
right.
food out in
Aldo's
Ozone Park.
Pizza, Cross Bay Boulevard, New Park Pizza.
Oh my God! No,
Delicious.
no,
It's
pizza.
taco night in our house. So,
I
but this is the only thing separating me from taco
Oh.
night. But it's all good.
Okay.
yes.
We got to get it. You get back to your tacos.
Yes. So, all right, tell our audience about who you are and how
How
everything.
you found yourself
Oh,
in this
boy.
space.
I don't know
Yes,
if we
there you
have
go.
enough time.
Perfect.
So my name is Jamie.
Yeah.
I am from New York, as you guys mentioned. How we found each other, I guess I'll start there, is I lost my brother Matt when I was 25 years old to heroin addiction. He had suffered through addiction for, at least several years that I know about. And when he passed, I always wanted to do something to commemorate his memory. And I think this is something you guys can relate to. The first 5 years, like I was not entertaining anyone's ideas or, there's a lot of you should do this, you should do that. And everyone has these like brilliant ideas of how to.
That word should just drives
And I
me up
hear
the
it.
wall.
I hear it in my
Right.
business
Drives me.
too. Like you should do this and you should do that. And yeah, it really drives me a little bit insane. But I was just not in a headspace to do anything to commemorate my brother because I was still very angry for a number of reasons. But I knew ultimately, like when I got to that place, I wanted to do something to commemorate his memory. And while he was in active addiction, I was actually in my tail end of law school. So I'm a lawyer by day, business owner. I don't like to say at night, but in every minute in between. And when I was at the point where I wanted to do something in my brother's memory, this is before he passed. I started handcrafting skincare as a hobby. And I do it with my girlfriends in law school. We kind of swap sugar scrubs and stuff we made off Pinterest. I give it to internship supervisors. And it was just something.
Well, you guys needed a different outlet than law and books and words and black and white.
Exactly. I mean, and we're all
Right.
broke law students. We're trying to like kind of pay our way through school. The jobs that we're working, they're not, they're barely paying the bills. So this was something nice that we could do to kind of like, pass the time, like you said, without our nose in the books. Like you're getting your hands dirty. It was just a different type of simulation. And I still get that from handcrafting skincare, now almost 12 years later, which I mean, it's just a testament of that self-care just truly works, whatever that is for you.
Well, self-care is sometimes one of the first things
Yeah.
to go when you're grieving.
Yeah.
Yes,
And,
correct.
I made note of that to talk about how my self-care kind of transformed after my brother passed. All right. All right.
Jump into it, girl.
Um,
This
So,
girl.
like for me, like I always like was thought of myself as like a self-care girl, like always has my nails done, my hair done, like, all the physical things. But then my grief started manifesting in different ways and ways I was like not prepared to handle. Because and I think anyone who has a family member who is suffering from addiction, you live in a constant state of chaos. So you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, literally. You know, like, is my loved one going to be
Right.
arrested? Are they going to hurt themselves or somebody else? You know, what are they going to do that's going to affect my life today? Um, so
Right.
exactly.
Like that fire.
So I learned to live in like this constant state of survival. And post my brother passing away, I started having these like earth shattering panic attacks. And I never talk about that because like they're so under control now. But I think it's so important because I was maybe in my first or second year as a practicing attorney. Um, I I had been going to talk therapy, but not, not consistently. It was kind of like, when I needed to go. And
You weren't
and
ready. You weren't ready.
I'm like, am I having a heart attack? I had like these Tony Soprano moments. And
Oh my God, yes.
and
Love you for saying that.
We were
and I'd be
Soprano
sitting in
fans.
meetings, like really important stuff going on, and I'm like, I'm gonna pass out on the
Yeah.
floor, and like, thankfully, I never had the pass
Yeah.
out type things going on, but that
Sure.
kind of really, and I think of myself as a health conscious person. These things that were completely foreign happening to my body, I'm like, we've got to get this checked out. Yeah, because this is
This
just
under
no way to
control.
live. I
Yeah.
mean, like, the only safe place for me was my bed. And I remember, no, no.
not
And
good.
like, I'm like, I can't become a shut-in. Like, that's not reality. And I remember
Right.
the year after my brother passed. Now I'm my parents' only child. So now I want to make everything special for them. So that Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
I had got tickets for us to go to the New York City Thanksgiving Day parade, and I was living upstate at the time, so I drove down the night before. I was also in a master's of business program the year after I graduated from law school, so I'm just like piling and piling.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Oh, boy.
we got up early. We took the train in. And as soon as I got into Penn Station, I was like, I can't go any further. And we got on the train and we just went back, and I spent the rest of the day in bed. And like those moments, and it took me a very long time to actually get the right, I like to say, cocktail of, you know, anxiety medications and the right medicines for me to stop feeling that way. It took years. It wasn't, it wasn't an overnight process. So like the self-care for me, it turned to, yeah, like I love still doing all the things and getting my nails and hair done, feeling good and looking good on the outside. But the self-care for me transformed to more of, how is this going to make my mental health be in check? So like regularly seeing my psychiatrist, regularly, always making time for talk therapy, because as a business owner, now I notice if I cut, we're always trying to cut things out of our list, right? The to-do list is out of control. And when I cut that, I start to suffer. And I might not notice, the first month, but the second and third months, I'm like, oh no, like something, we got to get back on track with Miss Janice, who's my therapist. And yeah, shout out to Janice. When she sees this, she'll be really excited.
Oh,
and
I love you.
Also,
Thank you for doing
Janice
work.
was
Yeah.
very crucial because I was in a very codependent relationship at the time my brother
Really?
passed. His brother was also suffering from addiction. So I was kind of in an environment where like all of this was normal, right?
It's like a trauma bond. It was a trauma bond.
Right.
I got out of that relationship thanks to Janice. Janice like looked me in the eye with tough love and was like, he's not for you. And ain't nothing gonna change.
Oh, boy, I
She's
love a Janice.
she
I really do. I do. Because you know what? You got to be honest. And if your friends can't be honest with you, your therapist needs to be honest with you. And at least you were being
yeah.
also honest with her. Because, right? 'Cause there's a lot of people that aren't honest with their therapist and they're putting on this show just to have like someone in their corner, like, oh, look, they're on my team and everybody else sucks. And that's that. And it's like, no, no, no. This is your BS too. Like you also need your accountability, and she called you out on your spade. I love
1000%. I
that.
always tell her she changed my life because this was a person I was with from 19 to 27.
Bestie.
So very like formative years,
Crucial.
long time, and
Yeah.
especially in like your young 20s where you're trying to like learn about yourself. And she
Figure it
saw
out.
us as a
Yep.
couple. And then she called me afterwards. She's like, I need to see you alone. And I drove from upstate down to Long Island to see her. And she's like, you need to end this relationship like now. And I was like, I've never had someone be that honest with me about this person
Wow.
because they just were not good.
Mhm.
They weren't good for me. They weren't good to themselves. And while I'm still grieving, like these are all the things I didn't need. And like
Right.
that was such a pivotal point for me. And Janice is still doing all the things 10 years, 10 years later, helping me out.
And can I say this? And this is something that I have to say, and I think it's very important for me to say this as being in the field, as being a therapist as well. Some people say, oh, well, after 2 years, if your therapist isn't helping you, then they're just not helping you. They're not getting you to where you need to be. But I feel like once you build such an establishment with your therapist, even if you don't even have to see them every week or every other week, or you have that once a month check-in, or you have, even with my own therapist.
Shout
my
out
girl
to
Barbara,
Barb's,
she's
Big Babs.
gangster. She will tell me, listen, I'm going to send her this because Barb's, she'll text me. She's like, how's the baby? But really, how are you? And I'm like, I'm good. I promise. And she's like, are you sure? She's like, how's life? And I'm like, I promise it's good. I promise. And I'm like, what is it?
You have to be honest.
Does she pick on something that I didn't know about?
Honestly, throughout my so I just made a year of my sister passing.
It's a milestone.
And I threw myself into work afterwards. And the thing is, my sister had passed in a car accident. So that had made my fear of driving through the roof. Mm-hmm. And I had about an hour commute to work and a little bit longer than an hour on the way home. And it was driving the whole time. Mm-hmm. And my sister and her husband had passed away. They were hit by a truck. And I would see trucks all day on the way to work, all day on the way home. And my therapist had an honest moment. She was like, this commute,
no,
it's not for you.
It's not for you. Like you need to, because I would tell her, she's like, how's it going with the driving? I said, I'm driving in the slow lane the whole time. It's like, it's taking so much time off of me. And like, thank God I ended up finding a job that was like really close to home, but it's made a world of a difference. And had she not said like, listen, it's not so much the job, it's not so much you working is actually helping you. It's the commute.
Right.
Because you're traumatized.
You're triggered
on the
by
way
it.
to work.
You're triggered,
and then
by
you
that.
work a whole day, and then
Right.
you're triggered the whole way home, and then you're supposed to walk in and be a parent
like,
to two
but
teenagers. Like
how are you ever
this
supposed
is-
to heal when like every single day you're
Right.
facing the exact thing that is I don't
terrified of. I mean, I
just-
fuck up.
and like having you need that outside perspective because sometimes you're like, well, this is just what I have to do, but is it
Right.
it
Yeah, is it? And I ended up finding. So first of all, when you said you were a lawyer, I did have little heart eyes. I'm a paralegal, and I've always wanted to be a lawyer, and I'm
Oh my
still not giving up on that dream.
I will-
So we may have to line on some mentorship situation.
1,000%.
But
1,000%. I mean, it was just.
Coming to Long Island, do you have some really good pizza and some
Do
food out
we
there?
have
Because
good
I mean,
pizza and
listen,
food? I wanted to say, there's a bear crap in the woods.
no, well, we're from Jersey, Jamie, but we're from Jersey, so we
Okay, we
gotta,
gotta visit each other.
100%.
yeah, we gotta visit each other. It's
But
done.
yes, if my therapist had not said like this commute is really what's damaging your mental health right now, aside from like, going through everything you're going through, I wouldn't have kind of pivoted. I've always been in real estate, but I've always wanted to be a real estate attorney. I've always wanted to do the legal aspect of real estate. And then I got this job at a title company, and now I'm like doing real estate paralegal stuff, and I'm like working with all these real estate attorneys, and they're like,
It,
go for it, go for it, go for it. And I'm like, okay,
so
this might be
so you'll
something good for
so
me.
you'll appreciate this. So my brother passes away Christmas Eve of my third year in law school. So now this is winter break. Now I'm going back into my last semester, and I'm taking the bar exam in July. And this was back when if you wanted to be an attorney in multiple states, you'd have to take multiple exams. So I was signed up for New
Yes.
Jersey and New York. So there was no backpedaling on that. And I mean, I do credit my brother's passing in a lot of ways to me having tunnel vision and just throwing everything into the bar exam. And
Yeah.
for me, like, failure was not an option. I really did everything that I possibly could have. And in the years leading up to that, of course, because my brother was still in active addiction this whole entire time. Yes,
You
so
were the
I
oldest,
have
right,
3
Jamie?
older siblings, half
we're both
siblings, and
older.
then my brother and I grew up in the same house together, and they're from my mom and dad. So we always grew up as the two of us, me being the older sibling.
Right.
And yeah, this was like studying for the bar exam. I mean, you're just like, I just had to kind of like shake it off and get back into school and do what I needed to do, because like we're in the finish line basically. So,
That's it.
I loved every minute of law school. There were some, there were tears, I'm not gonna lie, but it was such a rewarding experience because I had such a chip on my shoulder to do well, that there was really, which, had its own consequences later on in life, but I really don't have any regrets when it came to, and finding out I passed the bar, which it takes a long time. Like, it's not like you sit down, they run your test through a Scantron. You wait months.
Are we gonna age ourselves at
I
this
think
point?
they still use Scantrons. Yeah, I think
They
so.
Do they? I have
I
no
guess
Um,
they do. They do.
So it takes
Yeah,
for you to
so
get an
you take
answer?
the exam in July, and I found out the week of Halloween. So, and I think New Jersey, I found out like 2 weeks before that. So you're waiting.
That's really good because
Why do they
New
take
Jersey.
Well,
so
they
long
have
to
to grade your
tell you?
essays. So
Because
I'm guessing like, you're a actual person is reading your exam answers. But you're waiting. You may be in your first legal job, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy, crazy. I had left home. I moved to upstate New York, and I was completely, on my own at the time. So 100%.
To
Thank
you.
you.
I mean,
And I think that's where you and I both connected, because when my brother passed, so a couple of months before that, they approached me. They were like, well, we want you to be possibly the supervisor of whatever in the school. And I'm like, okay, like, I guess.
I'll see you to go
I
back for
don't-
administrative credits.
Yes, like a supervisor cert. And I was like, okay, I'll do this. So I signed up for it. And then my brother passed. So I messaged one of the professors. I'm like, my brother passed. She was such a wench. Like, she's still, I got a 90 and she still was like, yeah, you're getting a B plus. I go, that doesn't even make sense. Like, how is your rubric like this? Like, whatever. I didn't even care at this point because I my brother passed February, and I was still banging out these papers. And then I was meeting my other brother from my dad's first marriage in Ghana in July. And I'm sitting there literally on my phone talking about I downloaded Google Drive,
So you
writing
can
my
write.
paper and sending it from Ghana to over there and still getting A's and all the other ones. But that one lady, I'm telling you, if I find her syllabus now,
She's probably got a
think I'm gonna
really
fight
bad
it.
reading on
Just
Rate My
because.
Professor or something.
Oh, 1,000. I don't even remember her name because that's how much she pissed me off. I said, like, I just told you that my brother died. And she's like, well, you're not telling me what the higher stakes are going to take. I said, the higher stakes can go like this. Like, I don't care about the higher stakes. Like, my brother just died. Like, what do you want me to do? Put on a tip tap show for you?
Did our grief and goal setting episode air?
Yeah.
Oh,
It did?
yeah,
Okay.
I have to
That's a
check
good
that
one.
out.
That
I
was good.
mean,
Yeah, because we talked a lot about how we had just went through this conversation is reminding me of that.
No, yeah, because we talked a little bit
we
about
talked
this,
about that,
but
like,
this
the
is a little
minute-
bit more in depth.
Yeah, like the minute my sister passed, I was like, I have to be a homeowner. I have to buy a house. I have to leave my kids something. I have to, because, life is lifing and you can't have this major savings. And you think about if something happens to me, where are my children? And, like their dad is great too, but I'm just like, what am I going to leave them? And I became, like you say, tunnel
They're
vision.
so good.
I was renting a home and the house next
What?
door went up for sale. And I was like beating down the price, and I would look out and see when they had open houses, and I would call the realtor and say like, why people didn't show up today? Want to think about my offer? Like, or I would make an offer and then somebody would show up to my house
Oh
saying
my-
they're there for an appointment.
That's
And I'm like,
funny.
no, next door, call and we got a great deal. But, I became like this, I have to be a homeowner. But then I feel like now that I've got that down, I'm like, okay, I have to go back to school.
What's the
I
next
have to go
goal?
back to
What's
school.
the next
and,
goal? But
you know,
that's the same thing. Like, I feel like Jamie, you and I, like when we spoke on the phone, we were almost on the phone for like an hour and a half. Like we were just like boopity boop, and she was like, Jessica, this is the first time I feel like really seen as my sibling, and I was just like, oh my God, you got to meet Liz.
Yes.
Like we have.
Well,
to
now
do
this
this. Like,
in-person meeting is is
this-
like not, it has to happen. And that like there's so many things that that you said that really, hit home for me. After I got through all of that, so graduated law school, passed the bar, I had my first job, I had my first apartment. I was like, well, now what? And
What's next?
I didn't
Celebrate
know,
with.
and it really, I'm not going to say it derailed my legal career, but I felt lost. I felt very lost because I felt like I needed to be doing something more because I wasn't just like go.
But that's the older
Yeah.
child syndrome too, because like we're also still trying to prove to our parents, like, okay, but you can be proud of me though, like look at me, right? And it's like, no, they're still mourning the death of their child, right? And it's just so many, like I always say to
I
Liz,
feel
there's
like
so
I
many
wanna-
layers and so many
Yeah.
parameters of,
I feel like I have to give my parents more things to be proud of when it comes to me.
that's what, and that's like, I
Which
feel like
I don't know if that's
Jamie.
100%
Yeah,
healthy.
I mean,
It's
like
not,
but-
I
do you
feel
think,
well,
Jamie?
like now 3 degrees later, and I'm like, well, I ain't going back to school. Like that's completely off the table. But like this is a really pivotal part in my career where now I think like, okay, now my priorities have kind of shifted, and what was important to me 10 years ago is really like that's not at the core of what's important to me now. And I really have to take a page out of my brother's book because, putting the addiction aside, his core values were always very strong. Loyalty to family and friends was above all. That, was the center of his world. I'm trying to think what else. Listening with a non-judgmental ear, and just really, service to others was really, at the core. Those 3 things are really at the core of his being. And I'm like, well, you know what? Now this next chapter in my life, that it needs to be my guiding principles. Not that I'm not doing those things now, but and I am, because I work with students, and a lot of part of my job is to help them in their law school journey. But I need to kind of find how that works out, in the right work, life, play, how those principles kind of guide my next journey. And I really have him to thank for that, because, those were the things that were important to him. And at such a young age, I mean, my brother was 23 when he passed. Having those be very apparent to other adults, I think is really, it just made him stand alone, out of his peers.
Right. And then even so, right? Like, I feel like that even he was here only for such a short amount of time, that he made such an impact. So I feel like his contract, like his life contract, right? Like, he really made sure to instill all of this, not only in you, but like in your parents and like his friends, it just everywhere. He still made such an impact
Now,
being here.
I'm really happy that you said that, because I have such a great story that I was out on the east end of Long Island in Montauk. I was out at the beach, and I was actually with some of my brother's friends, and they shared a story with me. And my brother was dating one of the people that were there, his sister, and they didn't like it. Like and not at the time of his addiction, but when they were in high school, and him being an older brother, he was just like not having it. And so his friends like joined in on that, and my brother, now I never knew this, like this is now years past. My brother actually showed up at this guy's house when his friends were there. And he's like, listen, I just want to talk to you man to man. I really care about your sister. I want to be with her. And like, I want you to like have respect for me. I'll have respect for you. And like, these guys were floored that he came there by himself, with no friends, no backup, no nothing. And like, really just wanted to like lay his cards on the table. He probably was like a teenager at the time when he did that. And then, yes.
The character?
Yes.
Character, yeah.
And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
said like, he's like, I looked at your brother like completely differently, after that. And I was so glad that he shared that story with me, because that's like, I feel like that's such an old fashioned thing to do. And like,
I was gonna say your brother's
Oh,
still
no.
punk.
He was
he,
wild.
like, he
He was
wasn't a
wild.
punk.
He was
Like, yo, I guess still got some Sopranos
100,
in me.
but and he really wasn't like, he kind of led with that no fear, but he did it like a gentleman. And I was so, because his life really took a turn with addiction, those were moments that like were lost on me. So, I love when people share those stories, and I'm really glad, because, a lot of his friends will like time to time like share things, just randomly if we're catching up, and share. Like, that was such a pivotal one for me, because it really was a testament of who he was. He also punched someone in the face when, he found out that like this was a girl he was really close with, and her boyfriend like hit her, and he went and knocked the guy out. He's like, just no questions asked, just like,
Oh, I'm gonna ask this.
He was a stand-up guy.
That's it. Jamie, I have such a
course.
personal question for you, and it was not on our list. It's not on our list of
God, do we have to
questions.
cut this out?
No, never. I don't think so.
Hit me
I don't
with
think
it.
so, because I think although he was 23, my brother was 29 when he passed. During his funeral, how many women?
oh, that's a wonderful question.
How many-
No, you don't have to edit that out. I did.
Come on.
Because she had a lot of girls show up
I'll
like, I
tell.
dated your brother.
I was with your brother. And then the one girlfriend, the one ex-girlfriend's fighting the ex-girlfriend. The other one's in the bathroom crying and they're consoling each other. I said to my dad's sitting in the front row and he has no vision. And
I
I'm
was
like,
gonna say, was he blind?
my dad's blind. And I'm sitting there like, aren't you proud of your son for all the women he's
Like,
drawn
Dad,
into his
if you
freaking
could
funeral?
Dad, if you could
Dad,
see this right now. Like,
I will
Yeah.
tell you, on the day we had one day, like, thank God, like, I couldn't do like the 2 days. We did a 1 day wake and then we had him buried, and it was just, you tied up in
I
a
did.
bow, and because it was just, even though it was one day, it felt like years of my life. This was a
1000%.
packed house.
I
I
feel
mean,
that.
there was standing room only. There was a lot of women.
Yes.
Your brother was my first kiss. You know, I
no.
still know who that is. And I'm glad to say she's doing very well. But,
Sounds like Jen,
Yeah.
Teddy's sister, Teddy
But,
and Andy's
I
sister.
mean,
yeah.
The line,
and like I
around
was
the block.
so, and I talk about this from time to time with my husband. The people who showed up just for me, that was really special because, like, you know, you feel like as a sibling, like no one's there for you. You know, they're there for your parents. You know,
No.
they're there. You know, if they're showing respect to your family. But I actually,
Sure.
and the man I work for, who's my boss right now, was new to working at the law school. Now I was a student, and he came to the wake, and he just felt like he needed to
Wow.
be there to show support. And I work for this man now, almost 12 years later. And we have a great relationship. And, you
Wow.
know, he had asked me to come back to the law school to work with him. And that impression of him, like, it changed the way I looked at him. I mean, it just not only,
Right.
you know, from like a school perspective, but like this person is just like, they
He's a
they
person.
have
He's empathetic. He has compassion.
I was like, if he asked me to like jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, like, and there was a good purpose, 100% I'm doing it. Like, you just, and that's, you know, another,
Yeah.
like, that blind loyalty when people show you and show up
That's
for
it.
you. I mean, there's nothing you can compare to that.
There's such a good point that you made, and it's such a testament to why we've started this podcast.
Yeah.
About how when it comes to sibling grief, a lot of times it's your poor parents.
Yeah, how are your
Your poor
parents?
parents. But you're also, how are your parents?
Mhm.
How's your mom? Oh my God, your poor mom. And that's
There's
all
never about
true.
sibling loss.
But it's also like we lost our best friends.
Right.
We lost what feels almost like a child
Right.
to us because they're
Right.
younger siblings. And we have this responsibility for their happiness, for guiding them. I feel like so much of what we do is like we want to set a good
Right.
example.
Right.
You know?
And it's just, I think it's all of us. I think all three of us, we are older siblings. And I think it's not that we're looking for acceptance from our parents. I think it's more so of saying like, well, we
Right.
are grieving too. Like, this is somebody that, like, we shared rooms or shared toys and shared fights and
But we said that about David Custer had said like the sibling grief is the only grief where when you share it, people go, "Were you close?"
Right.
yeah. Oh, you have another
because-
you have another sibling?
Because they have to gauge
Yeah.
how much empathy they're going to give you. Do you have any other siblings? Do you have any? Oh, you're, you know, it's like these questions so that they can gauge whether they should feel for you or not. And it's like, it doesn't have to be a child or a parent to be absolutely devastating and
And
alter
that's
your
something,
life.
you know, in really thinking about this, and what makes losing a sibling from addiction so unique is that because my brother didn't pass from a terminal disease or natural causes or some kind of accident, I didn't think that my
very
grief
tragic.
was valid, because now we're talking about a time, it's 2014, We're in the height of the opioid epidemic, and this was just predictable. This is what addicts do. They go to jail, which my brother did,
That's right.
and he passed away. So I kind of kept it to
Right.
myself to some degree because I was nervous about the stigma. Now people are starting to advocate. Are they going to use my story to, for their agenda? Like I didn't know where to put all that. So I'm like, I'm just going to kind of keep this to myself, especially professionally. And my first boss out of law school, he is amazing. I talk to him every day. He actually married my husband and I in Aruba when we got married. And I was just teasing him about how terrible the Jets are. But he was the first person professionally that I shared, that my brother had passed from addiction and what I was comfortable doing, because now I was working in government, what I was comfortable doing and participating in. And he was like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. And I mean,
That's right.
there are times when you're not going to get that. I mean, and that was another thing where someone showed me that compassion and really cared, and in essence
Right.
protected me, because I think as a sibling of a brother who was suffering from addiction, you're just so exposed. You living
Right.
in, my brother, because of his addiction, he stole from me. It was not a safe environment, and you don't have your parents
Right.
protecting you because they're protecting your sibling because they need it the most, right?
That's right.
So,
Right. But it's funny, Jamie, and I'll say this culturally, right? So my mom is Italian Irish, my dad is from Ghana, and I've said this in other episodes. But even as Italian, you don't talk about what goes on
right,
at home,
right now, and
right? Because we don't air dirty laundry, right? And then and if it's anything that happened to your brother, he went to
right,
Florida
there's
to
a
go.
story, yeah.
He went to go do
There's
a
a
job
story.
in Florida.
So,
Right. There was always a story. He went to Florida to go get. Well, we knew he went to go get clean, but no, he went to Florida. He went to go take care of something
That's
in
like
Florida.
everybody's dad who went to jail for selling drugs was like your dad.
he's in college.
So it was the same
college.
thing.
He's
So,
at college.
I grew up Ozone Park's Italian-American neighborhood. My mom's Irish, Polish
Right.
Catholic. My dad's Puerto Rican Catholic. So
Oh,
now we have the big wall of
yeah.
silence. My extended family had no idea that my brother was struggling with addiction until they get the call that my
they-
brother's passed away. So now and now you have
Right.
the burden of holding these family secrets, because now you
Right.
have all this going on. You're trying to help yourself, help them. It's that culturally is so hard, and it's taught me a lot as an adult of what I want to instill in when I have children, because I want it. I think because of all that shame, my brother he couldn't tell my parents he was struggling until they found out. So
Right. And then he was also, I mean, and not to even to bring in the professional aspect of it, right? Because I'm in the field, but he was probably, a lot of the addiction comes from home, right? Like that his shame and his guilt that maybe he wasn't reaching your level, or maybe he wasn't as successful as he wanted to be, that he tried to match you. And it's like, well, I'm the younger brother and I'm the male and I'm supposed, right? It's like all those cultural and then the gender roles of it. It's like he was dealing with a lot of that pressure.
I'm trying to think of we have an episode coming out with a gentleman whose brother
Yes, his brother died of an overdose. Yeah.
Oh,
you'd
yeah, I
love
definitely
that
wanna
one.
check
I
it
think
out.
would be really good.
100%.
With him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're gonna do any of the I don't know if you're gonna do any of the jumping.
Oh yeah, he does a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
like
something called Jump Life, and Patrick, his brother also passed from overdose, and he's actually a neighbor
well,
of mine.
him and his brother were both
wow.
Addicts.
and he got clean. He's been clean 16 years, and his
Yeah.
brother passed, and he's really just really open and vulnerable and honest about
And-
everything. And
Yeah.
we are so over time. It was such a pleasure talking to you. Is there any?
I
We could
know.
talk forever.
My goodness.
But I want you to plug some. I want you to
Yes.
plug the
How
self
can
care
Yes.
and all the good stuff and the candles and
So-
well, all the things, girl. Because
So what I
you
will
got
do is
things going on.
my business is named after my brother, Matthew James Heart and Home. I was talking about the sugar scrubs earlier. I started that business to really focus on self-care. So our signature product is our sugar scrubs, but we have an entire line of candles, soaps, lip balms, everything that will bring the spa experience to home and help you start a self-care routine. So our website is MatthewJamesHeartHome.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Matthew James Heart Home. And then a portion of our sales go to our foundation, the Matthew J. Ruiz Memorial Foundation, where we pay it forward to organizations who help people who are in addiction and working towards recovery.
Amazing. We love that so much.
This, Jamie. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, and thank you so much for joining. And obviously, we have to have this connection, and then we'll do videos, we'll put it on Instagram, and the whole in betweens. But this was phenomenal, and I absolutely adore you. And thank you so much for your strength, for your story, just everything that you're doing,
vulnerability,
your
everything.
vulnerability, and we got to connect again. I think that we definitely need to do another episode. I think
would
it
love
would be
to.
phenomenal just
Yeah.
to kind of put a part two. And I mean, listen, if you're ever don't
I-
judge Jersey. Okay?
I know.
I
Everybody
have nothing
Jersey.
against Jersey.
We are not.
I love
you're
to
right.
explore new
I'm just-
places. So if you show me the best of Jersey, I will
Okay.
be Jersey's biggest advocate.
We will.
I
we
mean,
will.
but I don't know about pasta, but I mean, if I have to whip something
Girl.
up, I'm just
Whatever we have to do.
Yes. Thank you, Jamie, so much. And thank you for our listeners for listening in. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and TikTok. And please join us. Just subscribe, share, follow,
And the whole
comment,
point, you
and
have
just
to
try to
share.
be involved. And we're just looking forward to connecting more with our community. And thank you so much. And Jamie, again, we are so sorry for your loss. And we are just looking forward to connect with you again. Thank you so
Oh,
much
it's a
for
privilege.
joining us. And
Thank
thank
you.
you to our audience. Thank you for listening.